Gear is what turns an idea into something that exists outside your head. My audience is people over 40, just starting out. Without something to record with, nothing reaches the person you want to help. You're clear on what you want to say, but if you don't have the gear to help you get it out, the idea stays locked in your head and the work doesn't happen. I'm Lauren. In my last video, I mentioned I was retrenched in 2024. I applied for over 2,300 jobs and heard almost nothing back. Now, when you go through something like that, something changes in you. You start to value your time differently, and you take the tools that you depend on a lot more seriously. When things are that real, the focus usually shifts away from which camera you should buy. Because there is a tougher question, and that is determining which gear is going to be holding you up. And when you look at it honestly, new creators tend to run into these three main areas every single day: the technical, mental, and financial issues. This video explains why simpler, more stable equipment isn't a downgrade. It's often the only way to protect your energy while you're trying to build something new. An unreliable setup leads to longer days, lower energy, and little tolerance for mistakes. In a corporate job, when something breaks, you'd call IT, someone else fixes it, and you move on. But when you're alone, there is no IT desk. And if something goes wrong, you're the one who has to roll up your sleeves and fix it. This is why buying complicated gear has a hidden price. More knobs, more buttons, and more power cables means more ways for things to fail. Once you've spent the money, it's gone. It's no longer there to buy the gear that's going to support you. This is familiar to anyone who records regularly. If it takes 20 minutes just to get set up, you've already spent the energy you needed for the recording itself. When the gear isn't working, you're worrying about the gear and not what you want to say. By the time you get to making the video, the moment is gone. Most people don't have a dedicated space to record. They work out of spare rooms and small corners at home. Recording has to fit in around your real life, before work, after work, or late at night when the house is quiet. Power is another problem creators struggle with. Cameras use small batteries and they don't last long. If you record often, they run out of power faster than you'd expect. That's why professional creators use dummy batteries or wall power. It removes the need to rely on batteries. When power isn't a problem anymore, you can focus on what you want to say. People only think about heat when it becomes a problem. There is no warning before your gear fails. It simply stops working. Keeping your equipment cool will ensure predictability, especially during the long recordings that you're doing. If there's one thing that makes people leave a video, it's bad audio. I think you may have heard this quite a few times. People will watch a slightly blurry video, but bad sound will make them stop watching. A lot of new creators run into this. In many cases, it's one simple thing people overlook. If the mic is too far away, it picks up background noise as well as your own voice. Move the mic closer to your mouth, around 4 to 6 inches away from your lips. That one simple change makes it easier for people to keep watching because they can hear you clearly. Sometimes your voice jumps or drops when you say letters like P or B or even S's, and the air hits the mic. It makes part of what you say hard to hear. Good audio isn't about fixing things later in edit. If you take time to set the mic up in the right place now, before you start, you'll have a much cleaner recording to work with later. Every time you hit record, something physical is happening, even if it doesn't feel like it. We think of videos as files and screens, but every time you record, data is written onto something very real. That's where SD cards come in. But they wear out, and they will eventually fail. Those tiny memory cells have a limited number of write cycles, and unfortunately, memory cards don't always give you a sign when they're about to break down. It doesn't slow down. it simply stops recording. That's why reducing how much data gets saved matters more than people think. If you can, record straight to a computer or a laptop. That takes strain off the card, the slot, and the camera. Keeping things simple means there are fewer moving parts to worry about. And at this point, it matters more because losing a good take isn't just annoying, it is exhausting. If you're over 40, your body is part of the system whether you want it to be or not. And being uncomfortable can turn into pain. It doesn't feel like pain at first, it feels like you're just getting tired. What I mean is, if your camera sits too low, you end up bending your neck awkwardly. That affects your breathing, and your voice starts to lose its natural flow without you even noticing. Lift the camera so it's level with your eyes when you sit or stand. Making small position changes helps you stay comfortable and keeps your voice steady. But more importantly, it helps you stay focused while you're talking. But too much movement becomes a problem. Every time you stand up, you lose your flow. A good setup means less moving so you can stay focused. In the beginning, it's easy to focus on getting that soft background. It looks nice, but when you're working on your own, it adds risk, unfortunately. With shallow focus, there's only a small area that stays sharp. If you lean forward or backwards, even slightly, your eyes can drift out of focus without you noticing. Autofocus helps, but the focus will keep changing when you move. That constant movement distracts viewers. It also puts extra strain on the camera. This is why a basic setup gives clear video, because it stays steady and doesn't keep adjusting. Keep an eye on your cables because you don't want power cords and mic lines running right on top of each other. If they stay tangled, power noise can leak into your sound. That creates a low hum that you can't remove later, so it's easier to keep them apart right from the start. Keeping them apart is the easiest way to avoid the noise. But power isn't the only thing that causes problems. Digital cables can cause trouble too. Digital connections are sensitive. If a cable moves even slightly, the signal can drop. Strapping the cable down removes that risk. We've all had those long, hot days. But in a closed room, cameras and lights heat up pretty fast. When the room gets hot, equipment can overheat and stop working properly. You also get tired more quickly. Perhaps you hesitate or repeat yourself. Give the gear time to cool down before recordings. Another thing that keeps on building up over time is dust. When dust gets into the fans, it traps heat inside. Sometimes it's not about adding anything new. A quick clean can help reduce that heat. Sound isn't just in the air. It travels through the floor and your desk as well. But not everything the mic picks up is sound. It also picks up physical vibration. A good mount, even a bit of foam, stops the interference before it hits the mic. You're better off getting it right from the start rather than fixing it later in edit. Lighter gear doesn't have much weight, so small bumps can move it. A cable tug, a desk knock is enough. Adding a little weight helps to keep the camera in place. But stability isn't the only thing to think about. Power matters too. Wall power isn't always clean, and a surge can happen without warning. A surge protector is a simple way to protect your gear and avoid losing a take during long recording sessions. But even with good power, you have to look after your cables. They usually break at the weakest point, right where they bend or pull on a plug. Strapping the cables takes away that pull. It's all about being gentle with your gear. That goes for your glass too. Lenses don't need much. Light regular care does the job just fine. Small habits like this keep your gear usable for much longer. When you look at all these tips, the main point is simple. The gear isn't here for show. It's to help you do the work and grow. And when you're starting YouTube over 40, you're not building a studio. You're building a system that has to work when you're tired, distracted, or short on time. The gear should blend in. It shouldn't get in your way. It shouldn't pull you away from what you're doing. And it certainly shouldn't make you fix things right before you talk. If a piece of gear makes recording harder, it isn't helping you build anything. It's draining your energy the energy that you actually need to continue. Stability protects your time, protects your budget, and protects your focus. That's what equipment is really for. I'm building this channel one step at a time, and I want every part of it to be helpful to you. If this way of approaching YouTube makes sense to you, you're welcome to subscribe and follow along as the work continues. In the next video, we'll talk more about workflow because that is what helps you keep going even when you're tired. The link is on the screen.